I am a warrior. I'm just a woman, a teacher, a mother, and a daughter. A warrior in verses, recited in sympathetic arenas, a packed house full of friends. No need to sell tickets or check them in because just like me, you are all warriors seeking the same. On the front line every day, waiting for the pool to blow to signal the return home. But I'm just a woman, a teacher, a mother, and a daughter. I am a warrior.
O hokule a ka wahine o mau ke kane, noho pulaua aloha a mai o Makalii he keiki he kiakai. Holo pu o Makalii i ka moana nui a kea, aloha a mai o Kanehunamoku ka pula pula he kiakai. Kia aku ka maka i ka āli hilani a uili mai ka mokula. O kualoa ka aina o Kanehualani ka pali nā na e hii. I ke ala pono e holo aku ai a hoi mai, me ka uke o kou mua e kau mai ne, e mau mai ka ike a mauloa e.
Kia ora nui a kako akau e nā wahine mana o ka pō a me te ao, mai kahikihi a kahikihi, mai ka la puka i hae hae ai ki ka mena I le hua. Aloha mai kako.
Aloha.
My name is Kanehunamoku. I'll be facilitating today so that we can have a wonderful journey today through the experiences, the voyages of these Wahine Mananui. I'm honored to introduce today our distinguished panel of leaders in the Voyaging Canoe community. And I'm also very honored that they are my friends and my fellow Holomoana. I'd like to begin by introducing Ms. Pomaikalani Bertelman from Waimea, Hawaii. She's our kua'ana today. And from her family, we have learned the rich depth of our kuleana on the wa'a and how it applies off the wa'a as well. I'd like to also introduce Captain Bonnie Kahapea Tanner, and she is the captain of Kanehunamoku. And today we'll see how the generations, we have turned to the next generation and we're fostering the next generation. So wa'a, what started as maybe more kane kind of work, has definitely filtered into the wahine realm, and these wahine have taken it to another realm in itself. So, and next to her is our other captain of Kanehunamoku, also child student ma'opuna of Hokulea, Hawaii Loa, Eala, Makalii, of course, and this is Ms. Pualani Lincoln Mai Elua. Yeah, so this is Pualani. So today, they're going to share a lot of their experiences, the genealogies, their maybe their beginnings in wa'a, and how they have taken it to the next level to share not only to our keiki, but also to the lahui in general. So let's start with our kaiko ana as appropriate today. This is Ms. Pomai Bertelman.
Aloha kako. First of all, mahalo nui for joining us today. It's always great to see familiar faces, new ohana, new friends, so thank you very much for being here. It's also great to see the young ones. Thank you for being here. Like Kainani mentioned, I am from the island of Hawaii, Mokuoke'awe, in the area of Waimea. Born and raised there, so very much so reared in Moka, up Moka, but always have that pili to kai. Mauna Kea has been the guardian and the keeper of us as we were growing up, as well as Kohala. The streams of Kawainui and Alakahi and Waikoloa is what fed us as people right in Waimea. Our ocean, Puako, Kauaihai, Waialea is where we learned, and Anaiho Malu is where we learned to have a love and a respect for the ocean. I come from a large family, brothers, married sisters. So together there's 12 children, and we're actually all raised as siblings. But I'm very much so from a ranching family. And I remember when we were growing up that we were an ohana that really took care of our own. We never went to the store for beef. We never had to go to the store for pork. So we definitely took care of ourselves for a really long time, up until the time that my dad transitioned more so into va'a, and then also his job changed. He became a construction worker instead of a cowboy, and so because of that, our life changed. At the age of 15, quite a significant time in my life, I remember having to go to the store for the first time to go buy steak and to go buy meat. And I think you think about that, and it really seems kind of insignificant, but it actually was a really big deal, because what it did was it shifted the psyche and the progress, I think, of my family for a little while. Yeah. So the va'a actually, as we transitioned into the va'a, really kind of became a way for us as ohana to kind of get back to that in a roundabout way. But that's Hokulea is my earliest memory of a va'a. I remember distinctly at the age of between 3 to 5, she would come in every summer and we'd take care of her. It would be our kuleana to go down to Kauai and malama va'a. Because of Hokulea, my siblings and I learned how to actually have a long stroke instead of a doggy paddle in the water. Because my dad said, if you want to go out to the va'a is out there 200 yards, you need to swim. You're not going on the boat. So we had to figure it out. So very much so in that way, we were definitely reared in those waters of Kauai, but Hokulea was one of those reasons why we were able to stretch, why we were able to be like Kana and become that rope and lengthen our stride. And then more importantly, I think, accomplish the goal of getting to the va'a. Because when we got on it, then we had the surprise of being able to hang out on the navigator's platform where not everybody gets to be, and be in the net and moy under the deck of the canoe. So that was kind of my first introduction to va'a, was through family and taking care of the canoe, but also learning from the canoe herself.
I'm from here, from Kaneohe, born and raised, and now I live with my family just a few ahupua over in Ka'alaya, just past the hygienic store, where we're very fortunate to live on the water and have our canoe, Kanehunamoku, there with us all the time. So very fortunate for that. My first introduction to voyaging canoes was in 1995 in Kona, and I had gone with Kainani. We were on our adventure to Kona for the Lili'u races with no intentions of being, I guess, changed forever or put on a new course. And so we ended up there, and Makalii had just returned back from Tahiti, and they were on the pier. And Kainani took us down there, so we were cruising, and we saw the captain, which was Pomai's father, and Pomai's husband, Chad, was there. And I wanted to get on the canoe so badly, and there was a whole bunch of people on the canoe, and I'm standing on the dock. And I was like, oh, I just want to get on that va'a. And then everyone said, oh, you got to go ask that guy over there. And I look over there, and I was like, oh, no. I guess I'm not getting on, because I ain't asking that guy. He looks scary. But eventually, I think Kainani eventually asked if she could bring us on. And we eventually got on the canoe, and change of plans, we ended up in Kealakekua. That was the first place I sailed to on the Makalii, and pretty much never got off that deck. Still to this day, that experience has created a new course for us. And so you see some of the pictures up there that show this is Kanehunamoku and kind of the loa'a, or the fruits of all of that from 1995 till today. And I'm really stoked to say that I get to do va'a as my profession and also as my kuleana. Hello, mai kako. As Kanehunamoku said, my name is Puolani Lincoln Mai-Elua. I'm also from Waimea on Hawaii Island. I was first introduced to the canoe as a student through the Napuano'eau Kupulao program, 2-week session down at Mahukona in Kauai, where we were trained to sail the canoe, and then were allowed to, or were given the course to sail the canoe from Kauai to as far as Kealakekua and then back home. I was a student in high school at that time, so I always wanted to go back to the canoe, but never really had that opportunity to until I moved here, which was kind of funny. I moved here and I started to take classes down at Hawaiian Studies, and I saw Kahapea walking around at Halau Kumana, which used to be at Hawaiian Studies at that time, and recognized her as a crew member that we had sailed with in 1999. And I approached her and she said, "Hey, I'm going down to Hokulea next week. You want to come with me?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I showed up, and that was my first volunteer field trip with her. And then that spring break, we brought our first Halau Kumana class to Kauai, to our mama Makalii, to sail for 2 weeks. Then that summer, I got hired by Pomai's dad, to work on the canoe, which was one of the best jobs I've ever had. And since then, I haven't gotten off, just like these two. I'm a mama of 2 now, and I drag them to every canoe event, and they have to come to everything. And as soon as they can swim, they will be doing almost all of it. But I'm honored to be sitting with these two, as they really are my kua'ana, as well as Legs and Kainani, and Faye was in here too. Legs and Kainani and Faye were also on the canoe in '99 when I first came on, and I am the younger sister of them all, but I have learned so much from them and their experiences, and I was fortunate in 2007 to be able to help sail Alingano Maisu down to Sarawak to give that to him and say aloha to him. And that is because of really all these photos that you see behind you is our passion, and it's our life, and it's our lifestyle, and we're happy to share that with you guys today.
I have a question. I'd like to throw this out to you. Maybe, Pomai, can you give us a introduction of your father, Clay Bertelman, your uncle Shorty, and their kumu, Papa Mau, and Kahapea and Pua, if you can chime in on some of your experiences, to introduce our wahine, our kumus to our wahine here, and also to the lahui, so they know where we come from in our Voyaging Church.
So my dad is, his name is Clayton Bertelman. He is from the island of Hawaii. He actually got involved with the canoe with Hokulea initially, prior to the building of Makalii, because of his 2 brothers. When Hokulea was first built, and she was actually going through the state to pick up crew members, if you will, they actually sailed into Kauai. And when they got into Kauai, Herb Kane was told by some of the Kanaka there that if they were looking for people to go onto the Va'a, to go up to the heiau, because they'll find some really awesome people up there. And at the time, the Kane from Waimea were actually restoring Pu'ukohola. And so they went up to the heiau, and he actually found my 2 uncles, my dad's 2 youngest brothers. One is Shorty Bertelman, and the other is Carl Bertelman. And asked the 2 of them to get on the Va'a, and they did. Because they were Kama'aina and had local knowledge of the area, they were the ones that helped him to get the canoe up and down the coast and around to Hilo to continue the search for more individuals. At that time, Mao had already made his way to the East-West Center. He was here on the island of Oahu, and from the time, like them, and like us, from the time that they got onto the canoe, they were pa'a, they were set. The canoe was the hook, and they bit. And they went back to Oahu. They came back here to Oahu. They were actually working on the Va'a, and Mau was here. And everyone knew that Mau from the island of Sarawak at the time was the one that was chosen to become the eyes, the ihupani, the one that was going to pull the islands up out of the ocean for the Va'a. And so they were very fortunate, like us, like the kind of relationship that we have to Kumano, to Pua's little one right here, to be that close to him, to be able to ai mama from him, to be able to ingest whatever it is that Mau would say, but more importantly, what he would do and what his actions were. And so he became the teacher. He became the teacher not just for those two men, but for a myriad of men and women at the time. Shorty eventually was chosen to be one of the crew members on that 76 run from Hawaii to Tahiti. And what Shorty says, and I remember him saying it distinctly well, is, I learned and I know what I know because I made sure that I was there. He made sure that he sat next to Mau. He made sure that he watched and observed him from afar. And he made sure that when he went to Mau to ask a question, he knew what the question was and he was hungry for the answer because he was only going to get it once. And I think in many, many ways we've kind of all developed that, that characteristic as well. So Shorty made his way to Tahiti in '76 and was very, very fortunate to be able to be on that first voyage and to learn from Mau directly. To be able to experience the ocean and Hokulea for the first time, I think was amazingly powerful for him. In 1978, when they were going to do Hawaii to Tahiti again, the goal and the hope was that my Uncle Carl would actually sail with them, and he actually ended up passing away. And so family kind of stepped back a little bit and just kind of wondered if this was the right thing to do, which is when my dad actually stepped in and said, Shorty did the first leg, Shorty did this first sail, this is something that's very important to him, and we need to make sure that he can see this through. And so he stepped into Kako'o, his brother. Eventually, my dad would actually build a canoe for his brother because his brother actually becomes one of the navigators, student under Mau here in Hawaii. And in my dad's belief, in our community belief, if you're gonna be a navigator, you have to have a va'a. And so Makalii was built for him. I think equally important to those two men, though, we had some really amazing wahine. One of whom we actually contacted to come and join us today, Kiani Reiner, and Auntie Penny Martin, actually Rollins, and Auntie Joanne Sterling, Auntie Paige Barber. All of these wahine, Auntie Moku Forsyth, who really started to move everything forward and really kind of became these icon amongst the va'a, these kahua amongst the va'a that would actually help us to move forward, I would say. Mauzi, yeah.
So when I got to Makalii, Clay Bertelman was a very strong male figure, but sometimes the most roughest are the most lovable, and he was. And after you kind of got through, I think once he knew why you were there, and if you were genuine about your intentions of being there, he could read people. That was his skill, and you were hoping he was reading you the right way, because you never like kind of upset him. And but once he knew you were there for the right reasons, whether you were there for the long haul or maybe just the short term, then he kind of embraced you, and he kind of took us on like, you know, like children. And it was awesome for us because he had such a big family already, but we just stayed there with him and we lived there. I mean, I was already like 24, 25, I think, with me and Kainani. That's all we did. We worked all week so that I could fly to Hilo. I was already living back here, and I would fly to Hilo, and then we would drive to Kauai High, and we would spend the whole weekend down at the canoe doing whatever needed to be done. And then Sunday night, we'd fly back to, drive back to Hilo, drop me off at the airport. I would fly back, work all week, and we did this for like 2 years. And we just learned, and in between all of this, Mau would come to spend time on the Big Island with the Makalii, and so we got to experience that. I think when you talk about traditional learning, because we talk about that a lot, and I think for myself, I know that I experienced it genuinely because I got to learn directly from Mao, who then, and also from Shorty and from Clay. So you can see that generational knowledge happening, and it was just, I mean, to be at the right time. Like Uncle Shorty had said, he knows what he knows because he made sure he was there, and I think for us, for all of us, we've done that same thing, and so now we're trying to make sure that that can continue.
Cap was definitely kind of when you come to the canoe and then you come back and you come back and you come back again, then the crew always goes, oh, they're hooked. And Cap was definitely the person holding on to that aho that the hook was attached to for myself and probably for a lot of other people. And when he passed away, it was really hard for all of us to adjust to him not being around, because like Kaha said, he just lived and breathed the canoe. For myself, because I came in like kind of towards the end, I didn't know Uncle Shorty until we actually got into the canoe to go to Micronesia. And when he first came onto the canoe, I remember everybody having a really hard time hearing him because the difference between his voice and Cap's voice is extreme. Anyway, I have this journal entry, and I think I'm going to read it because it kind of talks about that. This is from the voyage Kuholo Mao in 2007. We were on board Alingado Maisu. Maisu was built by Nakalai Va'a. That project was really driven by Cap. And it was completed and carried out by Uncle Shorty and Pomai and Uncle Chad, leading the crew to help to complete the canoe. Once the canoe was done, then we sailed that canoe down to Sarawak to gift it to Papa. And on board the canoe was Uncle Chad Paishan, which is Pomai's husband, and Uncle Shorty Bertelman. And that was the first time I ever got to experience him. So this is Kapo Kane Kala Iwaka Lua Kumakahi, February 13th, 2007. Bebe taught me how to steer backwards today. It was hard but fun once I got a hang of it. Uncle Shorty has talked about it twice already. I think he wants us all to do it, but he doesn't say so directly, at least. We'll probably finally get him figured out by the end of this trip. His mana'o is so deep, though. It's weird how we all couldn't hear him before, and now it's so, and now we all can. It's not like he's getting louder, though. I'm pretty sure he isn't talking any louder anyway. We're just listening now and knowing what voice to listen to. Cap's voice will always be the first one in our heads and memories. It's hard to not want to or try to hear him. We all miss him so much, but Uncle Shorty is so much like him, and we're finally seeing it, and I'm definitely appreciating it. Hoku sailed close by today, the closest they've been in weeks. We actually saw the faces, exchanged some poos, and waved and took pictures. The more I see her sailing, the more I fall in love with her. What a beautiful va'a, even with the upside-down sails. Her movement in the water is that of a kupuna dancing a hula, and she is only 30 years old. It's amazing that an experiment could end up being the sailing machine of all va'a, the mother of all va'a, the image of Hawaii's hope and pride of our people, as graceful as a bird. I think in a lot of our time with Cap, he always talked about how much he loved Hokule'a. And one of the first times I traveled with him to Oahu, we went down to Friends because she was there in dry dock at that time. We got out of the car and he walked up to it and he goes, every time I see her, I just fall in love again, like that. And she wasn't even in the water. She was like, you know, not in the best shape. And I remember hearing him, and I thought, oh, I want to have that kind of love and appreciation for canoe. And I definitely had that for Makalii, and I had that for Alingano Maisu. And I gained that from Hokulea, seeing her in the water next to us as we sailed down to Micronesia. And it is interesting to see, because there was definitely a huge range of generations on the canoe for that particular crew. Uncle Chad and Uncle Shorty would almost become mesmerized when Hokulea would be sailing close to us, almost like time stopped for them. And I think for a lot of us, we felt like they actually wanted to be on Hoku. And maybe they even were, maybe they put themselves there during that moment. Time with all of these incredible men has really taught us, I think, more so about passion and how to love something so much that you give your all. And I think for us, that's what we hope to have or to share with our keiki. And we hope that our keiki have that same love and passion for the va'a, so that they can carry it on for us.
So for us, once Makalii had come, so Makalii was launched in 1995. And actually today, right? Yes. Today is Makalii's birthday. And so they are celebrating in Kauai High as we speak. So the Makalii was built for Shorty, so he would have a canoe to navigate. And it was also built by the community to provide a classroom, because there was the Bertelman Ohana and other people on the Big Island were so tightly ingrained into Hokulea, but they always had to come home, and the canoe stayed here on Oahu usually. So the canoe Makalii became a classroom. And our big introduction as crew was to help Clay run these student trainings. And he was very passionate about sharing and providing opportunities for the youth to get on the va'a. And so I think the first year we had like 200 kids, and we took Makalii and Hokulea and we sailed down the coast with these students. And you know, some days we would have not even food, barely any food to eat amongst everybody, but we learned how to teach. And it was basically, I'm gonna teach you how to do something, and now you go teach those 30 kids over there how to do it. And so we got like thrown into that teaching role just because, that was the need. It was necessary. You couldn't say, oh no, I don't want to teach that. I don't feel comfortable. You just keep that inside, and you go over there and you just do your best. And so we learned through the Makalii, and Makalii has done that from 1995 until today, where they have youth programs come down, whether it's school groups or community groups or just us bringing kids. And we just started doing it with no money, no funding. We just did what we had to do to get the kids out there and to get the canoe moving. And so doing that for the years, and then in 1999, Makalii took Papa Mau Piailug home to Sadawa. And after that voyage, Mau had said to us, you teach what you learned from this trip. You teach, that's your kuleana. So when I came back from that, charter schools were just starting up, if you guys have heard about the Hawaiian focused charter schools. And I came home, no more job, right? So I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta look for work now. It's been like a month since we came home, and you know, my parents are looking at me like, what are you doing? So, okay, let's go get a job. So I applied a couple places, and but Keola Nakanishi had approached me, and he said, okay, I heard you went on this voyage, you know, how would you feel about coming to work at the charter school and building a canoe? And I was like, that sounds kind of cool. And so the first person I called was her dad. And I asked him, and he said, yeah, go for it. And so a lot of the pictures you see is of Kanehunamoku. And what we did is, all we've done is we've taken that ike that came from Mau to Clay and Shorty and to others, and we've just followed that path. We haven't really changed too much, and we haven't really added much to it either. We just taking all of that foundation and that ike, and then we're pushing it forward now into these new generations. And so for the past 10 years on Oahu, we kind of complement what the Makalii is doing, and then Kanehunamoku is here on this island to provide the youth here opportunities to learn. And then in the summer, for the past 5 years, the two canoes have been coming together and teaching through Kulia program with Kamehameha schools and providing more OPO the opportunity to touch the canoe. So we try and keep as busy as we can possibly be, and try and get to as many, not only OPO, but students, and now we're trying to work with more Ohana-based, because we are our own Ohanas now, and we're just trying to perpetuate that ike that was passed on from Mao.
I think Kaha's raises a good, she brings up a good point, is that we're all in the do and in the know of doing things. When Makalii went into the water, Hokulea was 14 years old. And so like us, where we are right now, she was still trying to figure herself out too. The organization she was, prior to Makalii being built, there was a canoe and a halau in one of the slides. That canoe is a Mauloa, and that canoe was built when Hawaii Loa actually was being built here as well. But that canoe was built traditionally, and that was the one when we knew that we were going to Alaska to ask for the logs for Hawaii Loa. The men on this island, like Kahapea had said, wanted to build a voyaging canoe here for us. And the kupuna of Mokuokea'awe said, you need to build a canoe traditionally first. And so what they did was they came together, 23 men from throughout the state, from the Pai'aina, came together, and they went back up to Keauhou Ka'u, and they went ahead and they found a log to go ahead and become Mauloa. Went to Mauna Kea, picked all of the pohaku to pigam the ko'i. For the first time ever, men at home were wearing malo again. We're going through va'a ceremony again, in the sense of our little community. Doesn't mean it wasn't happening anyplace else, but it was definitely happening for the first time in our community. Also, for the first time in our community, in many, many years, the va'a chants were happening again. The thought of having a va'a on the ocean again was real. It wasn't something that we were just looking at in books anymore. It was something that became very static and true. And so to me, Mauloa was actually like the Renaissance that happened in the early 70s. Mauloa in the 90s was another part of that was very key, because that's when, for us, ceremony and tradition started again. For us within Nakalaiwa, the day that Mauloa was launched in Honaunau, the kupuna said, you are now Nakalaiwa a moku o Hawaii, now you can build your va'a. Yeah. So I think what is important is to recognize that there's this rites of passage, that there's this transfer of knowledge from one generation to the other. And really, I think if you look at it now, almost 20 years from that time, that transfer of knowledge is still happening, you know. And that I think is something that's really hugely significant. One of the greatest things I think that happened for me in the way of education and in the way of teaching was when I went to Tahiti and did my first sail from Tahiti to the Marquesas to Hawaii in 1995. How brilliant our kupuna to put 5 organizations from the island of Hawaii together. The Department of Education Kupuna Program, Punana Leo o Waimea, Na'aukua o Pu'ukohola, or the Light Warriors of Pu'ukohola, Nakalaiwa, the Canoe Builders, and Hula Halau Ke'alo o na Maupua. And they did that because we didn't know va'a yet. We knew of the va'a, we loved the va'a, but as a community, we didn't know the va'a. We had to learn the va'a. So our kuleana was to become familiar and ma'a to the va'a. The halau's kuleana was to record everything that was happening, write the oli, write the mele for it so that it could be documented in time. The na'aukoa's kuleana was to malama all the ceremonial pieces of it. So we each had kuleana. We needed the kupuna there to guide us, and we also needed the little ones to become the pula pula, the ones that are becoming after us. And so we get to Tahiti, and when we're there, and Kainani was there with us, and when we're in Tautira, the halau did all of our protocol. They did everything for us, you know, and that was marvelous. That was amazing for us. That was new. Recently, Pua and I, with one of our brothers from Aotearoa, with my husband Chad, we were able to take 3 of our students to Tahiti. And the most amazing thing for us was being able to get to Tahiti, to go to all these places of definite significance, but not to have the halau there with us and have this ipu of mele, oli, and protocol that we could offer on our own behalf 15 years later. That was, again, I think another significant step. You know, so we have the education of being on the ocean, but we also have the kuleana and the responsibility to become kama'aina to the lavena and to the loina of this lifestyle. You know, it's our kuleana to also hapai that and to malama that as well. Yeah. They have these two and Mahina and Kainani and Lian, they all have these kids, and Pua's little and he walks around the house doing all of the chants and stuff that we do, you know. He comes downstairs with us when we're doing our program, and he goes into the stance just like everybody else. He's 1.5 years, he's not even 2 yet, you know. And that to us, you know, Mao told shorty folks when they were growing up, you guys are too old for me to teach, give me your sons. And I think of all the things that Mao has ever taught us, or any kupuna has ever taught us, that is the most important thing. Is if you know, he can teach us navigation, he can teach us about the ocean, he can teach us how to read the sunset and the sunrise. But if we don't make sure that our kids, that these ones, that the little ones, the ones that we birthed into our own homes, can ingest of that and can be fed that, then we really, to me personally, we really didn't listen. We really didn't get all of what he was saying, and that for me I think is really profound, but also very sacred. And you know, but the sacrifice always should be equal to the sacredness. So that's kind of how it is.
Anybody have any questions, comments, jokes? We're a pretty humorous bunch, I'm sure. But any questions or comments? Yes.
Are you sailing on the world voyage?
Yeah, we're all sailing on the world voyage. Our kuleana together, I think, as organizations is really to kako each other. We actually have an organization called Ohanava'a, and Ohanava'a actually seeds the world voyage. And so currently we're all gonna participate however it is in the worldwide voyage, whether it's planning with logistics, whether it's helping with different components of it when the canoes are going through the state, but we're also looking to seed a few of the legs as well throughout that particular voyage. It'll definitely be a stretch, but I know that in the last couple of weeks we've already started to pa'a which pole is actually going to be doing which legs, and so because we have 5 to 9 pole that will actively be a part, or these men that went through this rites of passage for navigation, there'll be the alakai of every leg, and it's their kuleana to choose their crew. So yeah, we know we have a few legs that we're gonna need to kako with.
I think it's kind of interesting. While I believe you have to prove that you have the skill or a makokal or have that desire, I have a feeling that our teachers, who are all kane, they actually walk into the room and they know exactly what you're going to give them. And I definitely felt that type of pressure when when I first met Uncle Shorty before we went on the canoe. And as soon as I got on the canoe, I'm the one who wants to like do everything. And I actually, because of that personality, I got hurt a couple times before I was supposed to go. But this our la'aulapa'au, kai koholoholo kai, came down every time I got hurt and sprinkled olena on me. And the next day I healed immediately. So I'm like a huge believer of olena. But anyways, when we finally did get out there, I wanted to be the busy person and help take down the jib and steer and do all types of things. And he actually forced me to sit down next to him for like a whole 6-hour shift and he would just teach me. And I got to a certain point where I could feel this heaviness on my shoulders as far as that kuleana. And I would wake up in the morning for my shift and I'd tell myself, don't ask him a question today. just go with what you got already. Because every day I would come out of my hole and it was just like, he'd be like, okay, you know, and then we would just go. And it would be like 6 hours of that. And then I would, you know, like Pomai shared, the way that he learned from Papa Mao, he expected us to be the same. If he told us something, he expected us to remember it. And it was getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and I realized that I was already, when I asked the first question, I was already in the hole, and I have to keep going now. So we spent a lot of hours together watching the sun rise, watching the sun set, and there was this one moment where he told me, it was maybe midway through the first leg, so we already had all of our jitters out, and we were, you know, in the depths of Kanaloa. And he told me to watch where the sun was gonna rise. And he asked me to, you know, figure it out. Where is it gonna come up? And there was a whole huge bank of clouds. And then just this one small ena or puka inside the cloud. And he points at the ena and he goes, watch that. And I'm like, okay, so I'm watching that. And then all of a sudden, the sun pukas right there. And I remember just having this huge, overwhelming feeling of emotion and just knowing that that the knowledge that we were receiving from him was basically like a sustenance or ai or food, and he was feeding us and basically showing us how to survive. There were a few nights out there where if the crew had it under control, then the captain and navigator got to sleep a bit. And if it got clouded over, we used all of the tools and skills that they gave us to help to find our course again. And when the clouds would part and we were right on track, it was the most incredible feeling of fulfillment. Just that you have learned something from somebody and immediately applied it, and it is actually helping you get from point A to point B. And you're not failing them. And I remember all the nights that they would sleep long, they would wake up the next morning and they would say, you guys did a good job. I think when I came back home from the voyage, the most important thing for me was to keep doing it because I didn't want it to become stagnant, and was really fortunate to be living here, and my job was like cause is now to work on Kanehunamoku. And we really drove those type of lessons in with our students, even on our small coastal sails, you know, steering straight, using markers, staying awake, all of those little things that these men taught us. I definitely built our leadership capacity. And now, for myself, my leadership role has now changed huge. I'm not the one who can do everything on the canoe anymore because I'm dragging my kids to the canoe. And I'm making sure that they're okay and keeping them out of everybody's way. But my role has become that now, to lead them to the va'a. And they're surrounded by wonderful teachers all the time. Come to Dry Dock.
Here on this island, we have a Facebook, and or you can just get I'll give you my phone number and my email. I'm always, you know what's really hard, and I think this goes back to Faye's question of leadership, is that of the hundreds that come to the canoe, maybe you'll get one that will stay and stay for the long haul, yeah. And so a lot of times we put, you know, in the beginning we had our hearts broken millions of times because we would put our all into these youth that were in high school, and we would teach them everything that we know. And they only need to take that ike and put more experience behind it to surpass us. And we would put all of this information into them and all of our aloha into them, and then they would graduate high school and they would go off and have their life, you know, which is perfectly fine for them, but then we're left back lonely and brokenhearted. And so it's been hard, and it's hard if you look even from the beginning of Hokulea to today, and she's our mama, the number of dedicated crew that will be there at 2 in the morning, you know, at 6 in the morning, whenever, all hours to do what needs to be done. There's really a very small group of people that is committed to that. And so we are always looking for the next one. So on Oahu, we welcome, any volunteers to come down and to just learn. And it's it's a lot like how we learn. You just jump right in and go. And that's the best way to learn about the va'a, is to just experience it.
Wow,
Kanaloa